Have you ever noticed just how car-centric roads are? Trying to get from A to B by biking or walking is often, at best, inconvenient. At worst, it's dangerous.
It almost goes without saying that here in the United States, we live in a very car-oriented society, from the messages in our media to our daily commutes. But recently, in the past 50 years, transportation engineers have been trying to get people out of cars. While cars have become the default way to get around, it's becoming increasingly clear that cars are causing unnecessary harm to our environment, from increasing global temperatures to pollution to increasing road congestion.
In the past, congestion was solved by adding more car infrastructure, such as adding more lanes. The effectiveness of this, however, is limited. If you live in cities like Los Angeles or San Francisco, you know by experience that vehicle congestion is not getting better anytime soon. And as smaller cities are expanding, like our college town, San Luis Obispo currently is, more areas will experience these problems. Even if we could build our way out of congestion, it still doesn't solve our problems with pollution and carbon emissions. We need to build and plan smarter.
The ideal form of this is called the complete street, one that's safe, accessible, and pleasant for people from all walks of life. These streets, ideally, make space for cars, pedestrians, public transport, and bikes. There are a lot of reasons why people use bicycles. Some of the attractiveness include the exercise benefits, the eco-friendliness, and the quickness in congested city areas, and the fact that it's cheaper. You don't use gasoline, and you don't have to pay for vehicle parking. However, some factors actually discourage and sometimes scare away cyclists, despite all these benefits. As you can see, the street behind me is a pretty unfriendly street to cyclists. It eliminates the bike lane in favor of parking spaces, and that forces the bicyclists to ride in the middle of the street. This can be sketchy for both bicyclists and those in the vehicles.
It is important that bike infrastructure be developed better. That way we can encourage people to choose cycling over driving. In transportation engineering, bike ridership is heavily influenced by bike safety. The perception and reality of safety can be increased by having dedicated bike lanes, or in some cases adding a buffer between moving traffic and bicyclists.
This street in downtown San Luis Obispo does that pretty well. It has a well-defined bike lane, space for parking, and then a sidewalk.
It goes out of its way to be much more accommodating to everyone, making people more likely to be comfortable biking or walking. That comfort does come with a price, though. Space is limited, so this is a one-way street.
SLO's one-way streets are infamously kind of confusing, but they've gotten much easier to navigate in recent years now that GPS is a thing. Ultimately, we think this trade-off is worth it.
So, riding your bike instead of driving is an intentional choice you have to make. One choice that can be made automatic is the choice between walking and driving. Compact areas with lots of different kinds of buildings close to each other can encourage people to not even bother with the car and just walk to their destinations. In downtown San Luis, this is encouraged even more by two things. First, there are strategically placed parking structures, and parking anywhere else is a huge pain. And more importantly, the roads are designed to take back space for pedestrians. Some blocks are split down the middle to include large walkways, and there are a lot of extra crosswalks in the middle of the roads. Cars have to wait their turn for pedestrians instead of the other way around. And if this means there are fewer cars on the road, this makes getting from A to B faster for people walking and people driving.
One more feature that, ironically enough, can actually reduce congestion is a bus-only lane.
This is another method that can be used to help get cars off the road. The idea being, as roads become more congested, people will be drawn to the bus system, which will have better travel times due to the dedicated bus lanes. Additionally, cities like San Luis Obispo allow students to use the bus system for free, which not only helps the students out financially, but also gets them in the habit and the mindset of using public transport.
The answer to more efficient, accessible, and environmentally friendly transportation is getting people out of their cars and into the real world. Infrastructure that accommodates all modes of transportation is the future. Therefore, it is important that transportation engineers design their systems that accommodate all modes and users.